Everybody, this is Rich. That's the name I prefer to be called by. My true name is Richard Moss. I want to share with you my background. I come from the Chicagoland North Shore for the vast majority of a good chunk of my life. I gained 30 years of experience up there. Very close to it. And so that's what I'm used to. It's highly regarded, at least for me, the highest level of honesty, integrity, the healthiest contracts. I'd be extremely fortunate to hold on to that. That's the norm I know. And it's a fantastic area, I understand, to raise a family. That's all I know for 25 years. That's all I know. I've been very fortunate to come from a background that has been encouraged to build on curiosity. That's kind of a unique upbringing, which I've been extremely fortunate I've learned to incorporate as a highly valued aspect of life. It all started earlier in life when I still lived in Chicago. I started about 3 years old. 3 years. First 3 years of life. I was so curious, George, and my parents, pretty early on let me know, hey, go out there in the world and learn all about it and come back to us and share it. That's what I do, and that's continued lifelong as I've matured. Age 14, I'm told that goes on indefinitely the rest of my life. Very, very fortunate. I've learned it from people who know their stuff in that respect. Normal. And I'll get into that in a moment. So you don't have to be one bit concerned about me in any way. I'm just trying to get this phone to let's try to do this here. I'm holding this. There we go. Very good. Hey, me. That's me. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to learn about me. Yes. Yes, all I know is the Chicagoland North Shore. And I expected that to continue indefinitely. Highly valued, at least for me it was, to build on that curiosity and experience what I understand is one of the best villages in the nation to raise a family. I have to admit, fantastic. I mean, I've shared it all. You see down there at the beginning of these reviews, I clearly disclose 1960 and then 67 up to 85. But I got the original copies, but some present day events got in. I had my emotions get in the way regarding some present day events. So I kept those originals. That's why there's two copies down there. I believe it's by recollection on 1969, and again maybe in around 1988. I had some emotions let loose, and that's why I've kept both copies. You'll see that I continue without looking at them. That I've continued to introduce myself. Do you know me? You know, the facade. It's the quality and substance that really counts. Very high level up there. I know exactly what's true about myself. Those people are so gifted. They highly value. At least that's what I've always experienced in life. That's all I know. And I understand it's the village originally I came from is very professionally managed. And just a truly fantastic childhood. And now it is a cliquish area, I do have to admit. If you're someone growing up out there in high school, it is quite a clique. That I can definitely say without any question. I've disclosed that in my background. I may have not gone really into depth. It was a fantastic childhood. I come from a perfectly normal childhood, and we all have strengths and weaknesses. And I understand in human nature that we happen to possess certain quirks too, and that's just human nature. We're complex. We're very complex, and I continue to live up on the just outside the actual original Chicagoland North Shore. There's something, whether or not actually the Deerfield, Northbrook, the outlying areas are actually included as part of the Chicagoland North Shore. Oh, but as far as desirable, you can't ask for better. That's all I know. After high school, I fully disclosed that in my previous reviews, and as we progress into, adulthood, I was most fortunate, and I must be very fortunate, that I was able to get myself in a situation among the very most, pretty close, certainly north of Chicago, was the old money original Chicagoland North Shore from 1986 through about, I believe it actually went all the way up to 1998, because I still had some clients that were still contacting me, but the vast majority of it was the first half of 1986 through 2001, and I gained some invaluable business experience. I have fully disclosed that. It's most unique. I am so fortunate, without any question. You don't know anything about me yet, but I am experiencing creating success. That's the career experience I was very fortunate to experience, is how to create success. That all actually originates all the way back to a young kid when my father used to go to entrepreneur clients as a certified public accountant. And I don't know how much you actually pick up on that, because most of the stuff I remember, I didn't understand the grown-up stuff. But without any question, I was able to get myself among an environment of the Lake Forest Graduate School of Management, where it had tremendous influence on that population base. And I have very clearly described throughout the review what would make me a business professional. Most unique, very fortunate to gain that experience. I would very much appreciate a PhD in vocational psychology to take that actual experience, and I don't even question with that type of experience, I would have expected for the rest of my life to continue on with a very successful career. And that's still true about me today. That experience will be forever with me. I'm just waiting to apply it. And it shouldn't have made any difference where I go. And so, very unique and gifted. Anyone that I relate to about that experience, I understand I am most definitely very fortunate as a business professional. I'm just waiting to apply it. And I decided to relocate. I remained in Lake County. Okay, let me get back to here. So I originated from Deerfield, Illinois. And I lived out there until 1991. And then I was further out in Lake County and continuing to pursue my career. And you'll hear all about my background in all these reviews. Just get down with a piece of paper and pen. And so I continued to live in Lake County for approximately another 10 years. So it appears to me that I've got about 33 years, 35, 36 years of experience directly in Lake County. And anywhere, let's see, it'd be 1967 through 2001 is plus or minus 25 years directly on the Chicagoland North Shore in the newer section of the Chicagoland North Shore. It's 25 years. And then I fortunately gained about another 5 years in constantly continuing in the Chicagoland North Shore. And then there was about another 7 years that I was just in Lake County. I didn't go back there for that 7 years, except before I decided to relocate to the southern states. Now, you got someone, just so you know, I understand I'm as innocent as they come. I'm extremely fortunate by that foundation, and it should have lasted me for the rest of my life. It so happens that a good chunk of these chronological disclosures about my background has included, I would have believed if when I saw Walter Jacobson, I'm including some, it's all in my history in those reviews. Well, there was an individual named Walter Jacobson that had a lot of influence on me when I was younger. Yeah, it was hard for me to believe that kind of stuff happens. I wouldn't believe it in my lifetime. Would you? With someone from that kind of background? I've only experienced honesty. I would never believe this could happen to me. And I have the vast majority of this chronological disclosure, so you get to know me really well, happens to be in the southern states. I must have been blinded because I saw that with Walter Jacobson, during the, around 1970 he's kind of historic in that respect. He had a lot of influence on Chicago television. It originally was Channel 2 with Walter Jacobson and Bill Curtis. And I guess because I've been extremely fortunate to get into where the highest level of honesty, integrity is really the utmost importance, along the original Chicagoland North Shore, from pretty much 1986 through about 1995, 96. I held on to the honesty, integrity. I've had such a good outcome from that influence. I never want to let that go. If you're able to hold on to honesty, integrity for over 40 years, I think that's self-explanatory. That I have had individuals check me inside out. Verbally talk to me on the phone first. I'd go out and meet them, and they couldn't thank me enough, and they wanted to give me a hand to create success. That is the honest truth, professionally. And so that's what really instilled the honesty. That's all I've known from age 9. From age 9. And it really got impressed in 1986 forward. Really got impressed. That's all I knew. We stumble, we make mistakes, we grow, and we correct ourselves. And when I came out to the southern states, I may have been somewhat blinded to not be naive, as the people on the Chicagoland North Shore would very openly disclose to you. If you explain something to you, if I'm sharing something that I've built on curiosity that I'm about, they'll come back and say, yeah, naive, and true. I would never believe in my lifetime I would gain experience that of only the healthiest context. I've disclosed that I'm fully aware of what makes me who I am. I've learned it all. Not only do I learn how things work out, with whatever, building on that curiosity, and but I'm very socially, I have a fantastic history to imitate off of, and so I would incorporate pretty much in my childhood what's true about the Chicagoland North Shore and Deerfield as that incorporated norm. And so, fantastic substance to imitate off of. I naturally am a person that likes to build on curiosity, though, minus irrelevant substance such as gossip or trivial aspects. I'm just not someone who's into clicks. I like to come to you, though, and share with you what I've learned, and I understand that makes me most interesting. And finally, one day, in Lake Forest, or somewhere up and down the Chicagoland North Shore, while I was pursuing my professional career, I came across some homeowners that were at the highest level of social science expertise, and they told me it's a higher level of growth and maturity than most people achieve in their lifetime. I have a feeling because it's the beliefs that are impressed on you in that respect, and my parents encouraged me to go out there and learn all I can in a great area and come back to them and share what I learned. They were there to correct me. And so that is normal at the highest level of expertise. And then I've been out here in the southern states since about 2001 and a half, I'm guessing, about 2001 and a half. I'm not sure exactly the date I came out. It might have been, I'm still have to research exactly the date I got out here, whether it was, what part of 2001, or it could have been as late as 2002. And I have to say I've been building on curiosity down here. And it's quite a bit different, to say the least. In fact, it's hard for me to believe that what I very much anticipated would have continued in that context the rest of my life, working a solid career. That's very, very important. Very important. It's ingrained in me. That's the background I come from. You pursue a solid career. Very important. And very fortunately, I understand I've gained some exceptionally good, solid experience in that respect in a very unique manner. And things became very interesting along the southern states here. In fact, I have to say, I wouldn't believe it. I had no experience other than somehow what I believed, what I've heard about in the most evil nature, bypassed it. There was a blind area of believing what I've experienced my entire life. And I thought that would continue. I would never believe somebody would do harm. Because all I've experienced is the healthiest relationships. And I was about to learn something that ultimately I've had to make a decision here. And this is something that I'm going to do in my livelihood. I wouldn't take a chance of letting go of over 40 years. I wouldn't even believe it. I've shared it with you. I don't know how I can say I'm sorry about it. It's a wound. It's a wound that I have now understood about what I would have to say is a completely different incorporated norm that never would be acceptable in Lake County, nor most definitely not the Chicagoland North Shore. That's unheard of up that way. And so the way I am now taking it in present day form, because all I have is today, is I'm going to have to make a choice here now. And I know that what should have happened is outright considered the most serious of serious violations. I have been thoroughly honest with you. I absolutely promise you what I'm sharing. It's painful, but that's okay. Wounds do heal, hopefully. It will be out of my hands. I could just come back after an experience that I built on curiosity and learned inside out. It's something I would never want to know anything about. You'd have to want to harm. I wouldn't believe I'm saying that. No, it's not supposed to work that way. But nothing's perfect in life. And so I am looking very forward to reincorporating back into what, and it's going to take some work here, and I'm going to be at the absolute mercy of what is right. The only reason I've made this decision is I've got a couple of choices here, and one of them I understand is going to be as unhealthy as it gets, and something that I never would believe. I've heard about this kind of stuff, and I'm way too vulnerable to it. No, not what I've shared with these experiences. Normally I would adapt to that and accept it. There's a limit. I'm not willing to let go of that 40 years. I will not. And it will be out of my hands. And I've experienced only in Lake County of everything is taken in consideration, and it is always the truth. There's no harm to another person. That's the reason I'm going to have to make this decision. I cannot change the situation that I'm in. It's very powerful, of the utmost powerful nature. That is what I have shared with you. I'm coming back, and I want to share what I've built on curiosity. And unfortunately, I had $250,000 wiped out, and everything that should have been in the healthiest context. I've learned there are people that will very much harm you. In fact, the most serious forms of boundary violations, by what I can tell, by the most powerful. You or I is absolutely of no match in any manner. I wouldn't believe that. That's the reason of the basis. Just so you know, that's the basis. Right there. You will not have to figure me out. It's not a medical issue in any manner. I am hoping so much that what I understand, I am a business professional that should very easily be able to reincorporate and readapt right back to what I'm highly experienced in, where there is a solid demand with that clientele base. It's highly valued. I know it inside out. I interacted with them a couple of thousand times. I know exactly what they most highly value. And I'm going to need a hand in that respect. Now, unfortunately, I'm talking about something that I would never want to do. I never want to harm another person. I'm not that type of person. It causes all sorts of crazy conflicts and other personality. It's not good. And so I understand that if that were to happen, unfortunately, I understand that this is in the form of psychological malpractice. And I understand it most likely would be one of the most outstanding examples that these southern states have seen in a couple of years. Regardless of this injury, unless a situation is replicated and created, there's no way that you're going to find. You'd have to replicate me, stereotype me, have a belief about me that I can say absolutely is not true. The nature of me all along, from 1967 through about 2001 and a half. I mean, you look at someone that has, roughly almost 40 years, 35, 40 years up there in Lake County, where what I have shared with you is true about my background. Unless a situation is absolutely replicated and I'm stereotyped in that context, when you don't know anything about me but a superficial facade, it's first impression. That's the only way. I'm so sorry that I would be deviating from the norm in that respect, a person in that context. I'm certainly not someone that should ever be in that situation. I've been injured. I have been, by what I can tell, that is a very complex specialization, and I will certainly cooperate, because I know that up north, that everything will always be taken into consideration for the truth to come out. And I have explained about the incorporated norm down here, which would be hard to believe. So I'm going to skip that. I've already described it, which I have needed to retrieve as much information of understanding in a chronological context. That's what you see me doing there. From the very start, from the very first video. God only knows the way I organize these dates to clarify it. It's just a rough draft. That took a lot of work to cover an entire lifetime. You don't have to figure me out at all. I will always be honest. I'm someone who would never harm anyone. Never, never. Even when pushed, you're seeing me in absolute survival. That I have one single choice. I have one choice here in absolute survival. And I have made a decision that I'm going to obviously have to get out of a situation where I believe that there's virtually little chance, considering a political and special interest environment, that will possibly occur. I've already seen it down here. I've shared all of it. And instead, I'm going to go back up to what's true for well over 30 years, to where that's highly valued. I will be an interesting one. I've always been that way. I promise you, I've never deviated from the norm. You're seeing someone in absolute 100% survival. I got one single choice: to hold on to what's true about 1967 through 2001. And I'm calculating, is that 34 years? I'm just from the top of my head. I'm running out of time here. I believe that's 67, 77, 87, 90, about 35 years. I'm 52 now. And so that's all I know. That's the norm to me. It's been impressed from age 7 for all of my life. I've only been out here for close enough to a decade. And particularly what happened was about 8 years. I'm happy to share that with you. I understand I am someone who's quite interesting. Obviously, I honestly say no, I've never deviated from the norm. I'm doing this in survival, God forbid. See, you'll know how stable I am. I may meet with you one day, or I may not. Either way, we can have, that substance in common. Unfortunately, it's far from optimum. The situation I'm going to be contending with, which is hard to believe that could happen to me. Thank you. Thank you for getting to know me. That's who I am. That's who I am, just so you know. Oh, no, I've always been most favorable. Most favorable. Absolutely. I wouldn't believe something like this could happen to me. I've shared it all in earlier reviews, particularly in the last couple of days, and all my history going back. Thank you.